So this particular shout out I now have to give is based on a song. Unfortunately, I do not sing. I have no singing voice. So I will then proceed to read the lyrics and butcher this song. But before we begin, thank you very much to I'm Immense. I'm your Omega. I'm the Flood for pitching in over on Kofi. It's a take on Vox Day from Hasbro Hotel simply because it announces Omega. We've we've diced up the line to get it all in. But thank you very much for the contribution. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. If you want to leave a one-time in and out donation of any kind, that is what the Ko-fi is for. It still gets you a shout out at the beginning of videos. So with that out of the way, we do need to discuss a couple things. So I'm going to be honest with you. This morning, what came across my news feed was that ridiculous looking Bruticus that just got revealed, and that's all I really want to talk about. However, I need to formulate some kind of video around that, which means I can't actually do a video immediately. So instead, we are going to be talking about some other 80s probably. So we just had the most recent HasLab conclude, and I kind of like went off on this on Blue Sky when it first dropped of like, how did they think this is ever going to work? I would be stunned if this actually passed. And to no one's surprise, it did not. So we do track HasLabs here. We talked about the Rancor when it failed. Didn't really talk about the Ghost Rider car, but we'll touch on it today. I kind of wanted to go into this because it's another 80s property. It is another HasLab, and we'll just kind of break this down a little bit, shall we? So this was for the classic Tron franchise, Heroes of the Grid 3.75-inch collector's set. So to do this as a HasLab, you really do need to throw everything you've got at it, and this is what you got. Now, far bigger channels that handle properties like this than mine have already weighed in on this. They've got more to say. They've got better things to say. They're much more intuitive about this, but we do need to go over this a little bit. So, like, the basic figures, they look fine. Like, if that is the actual sculpt that they accomplish at a 3 3/4 inch scale, that's actually quite impressive. I'll give them that. So yeah, you can see this is all hand painted, by the way. This is all prototype stuff. They wouldn't have the actual toys done. And you can see, like, they're pretty well done. Like, they're pretty well articulated for the size, similar to like legacy Star Wars figures or like the smaller Black Series they don't do anymore. You know, more akin to like modern G.I. Joe in level of articulation and in scale. We get the villains done up as well. So let's just take you through like everything you got here. Yeah. And they do have the identity discs. They have the effect parts for throwing them. You got your main villain here. You'll forgive me if I forget any of their names. I have not seen the original Tron in a hot minute, so like I know the name Flynn. That's about it. Now, as a normal figure line, this would actually be pretty nice and pretty impressive. And then you have things like light cycles here. And the light cycles themselves look fine. They come with a light trail, which is a nice effect part to have. I believe these like break down and assemble around the figure, which would be more akin to how they actually worked in the movie, which, okay, you had a pretty good idea there. You see it, yeah. So it would come like that, and then you'd close the shell up around it, somewhat emulating how the movie formed up the light cycle around the characters. So that all makes sense, you know? This all kind of works. And yeah, you got the big display base to go along with it, which is not a bad looking little display base. I would probably put the figures in front of the light cycles. They're so big, I would take those as background detail. But beyond this, this would have been like a nice little collectible piece. Now, the problem here is that small 3 3/4 inch figures like that, I really do not see a way that I would pay more than $10 for those, even if they are highly articulated. And keep in mind, because of the design of the toys, they're only one shade of plastic and then just paint. So there's not a whole lot of different molds that are going into this. In fact, a lot of this could be gang molded together because it's all sharing the same plastic color. Even the villains, all 5 figures could technically be on the same mold if they wanted to. The only difference would be like the accessories would be like translucent plastic. So yeah, this is like, I don't know, like a $12.99 at the most. $12.99 at the most if you want like a high articulation figure at retail price. And then the light cycles, I mean, yeah, it's cool. Like they do the thing. Like here, let me where's the light cycle picture again? Hang on. Like they do the thing of like clamshelling around the character that's going to ride them, and that is kind of cool. But at the same time, it does expose exactly what you are getting out of it, right? You know, you're getting one long board that is presumably going to allow these to roll. I don't see how the front wheel rolls, by the way. And then just 3 plastic parts that form around it. You know, that's basically all it is. That's all it is. Pretty simple. So this is like maybe, I don't know, if the figure itself is like $12.99, maybe like $20 for the light cycle itself. It's like there's really not a whole lot of assembly or engineering going into it. And then whatever you would call for the display base. You'll notice I'm breaking down all this without actually mentioning the price here. The price on this entire set, $259.99, and I do not see how they possibly thought that was actually going to work out. So let me do the math. I got the calculator out right now. So we'll do $260. You know, so they basically needed $2.6 million in order to get this off the ground. If I do 260 times the final number of backers, they got less than $400,000. Only 1,386 backers out of the needed 10,000 to get this funded. This is absurd. This is absurd. I am looking at what I genuinely feel to be what 12, like 60, 70, like with the base, maybe $120, $130 worth of plastic and play value here. Like literally half of what this got charged. I do not understand. Like even, okay, whoopie-doo, it has an LED light in the grid display. How did they think this would ever have worked? It's baffling to me how they charge so much for it. And here's the thing. Here's a really bad part about it. Oh yeah, you got displays too. You can put them in fake boxes. Here's the thing about this. The problem with the Tron franchise, not only the fact that, you know, it's over 40 years old and barely gets any media, so it's out of the public eye for months, for like decades at a time, right? It's completely out of the cultural zeitgeist for like 20 years, and then suddenly, oh, hey, we want to do another movie. Here's the problem with that. Because you are keeping the public unaware for so long, because this franchise is just going through constant like lack of use, and because it's very dated because of what we now know computers to be, yeah, it's never worked. For as much as people like to hype up Tron as this classic, and yes, it's revolutionary for its time, the Tron franchise has never done well. And this is where my confusion with Hasbro comes in. Aside from just the fact that like the price is exorbitant, but also why you think this would work. So if we look at the original box office for Tron, the original 1982 movie, it was a $17 million budget, and it made a total worldwide gross of $33 million. Back then, that's a modest, mild success, but for Disney, they considered it very underwhelming, which is why this never became a franchise. Critics weren't really happy about it. They praised the visuals, but panned the narrative. So a lot of people just didn't understand or get the movie at the time. And granted, computers, and especially home computers, were pretty new in 1982. So this is not something the general public would actually be even aware of. You know, for the most part, it's like the wrong era for a movie like this. They'd waited like 5 years for computer knowledge to enter the cultural zeitgeist a little bit more. Then you might have had something. but it's just too early and just a little bit too rough. The movie's never done well. That's the thing. So if I take a look at, say, Tron Legacy's box office, the much more modern one, you see what looks like a successful movie. $172 million, or like, let's say, where's my budget? $170 million budget. And then the worldwide gross was $400 million. And now to see that, you would immediately think, wow, that actually succeeded. That was actually like a really good turnaround for that movie. Hang on. What you see here is what it cost to make the movie and how much money it actually brought in. So the budget does not account for the advertising of the movie, which was pretty big and expensive. From what we know, we don't ever get the advertising and budget numbers, but we do know that it was a disappointment to Disney. Again. And then you have to account for the fact that the worldwide take there, that is not including the cut the theaters take. So that is not just pure profit for the studio. So the budget is naturally a lot higher. The gross is naturally a lot lower. And that's where you come together. You're looking for double the budget in order to break even, which would mean that yes, this would have been considered a flop by Disney standards. If you're only making like maybe $8 million off of a movie you spent $170 million making, well, sure, you got your money back, but you didn't actually gain the profit you needed to gain off of something that was supposed to be like the big franchise maker. You know, they wanted Tron to become another household franchise. They wanted everyone to be talking about it. This is why we got Uprising very soon after. Here's an animated series. Okay, that didn't do well either, though. It's strange to me. And now we know with Tron Ares. Tron Ares completely bombed at the box office. So this is like final nail in the coffin. They have tried 3 times to make this a successful movie franchise, and it's never worked ever. Which is crazy to me. They keep trying something that's constantly failed. And here's the thing. I was trying to figure out, is this a toy sales thing? Maybe the toy sales for Legacy were really strong. And for retailers, yes, when Legacy came out, yeah, there were a lot of toys shipping out, but still not huge numbers though. So see, according to the reports here, we had 187 containers of Tron gear landing in American ports from August through October for the holiday shopping season. That's retailers buying the product, not consumers buying the product. You will know Tron Legacy toys ended up in clearance aisles in liquidation stores by the droves. They were very common to find in there. And honestly, while that sounds like a lot of merchandise coming in through the shipping crates, it does not compare to the 277 containers worth of Shrek Forever merchandise that came over. Ahead of that release. So yeah, that's how much you should be shipping on a wildly successful movie, or a movie you're expecting to be wildly successful. So I really don't think it was toy sales either. I think it's just Hasbro blindly banking nostalgia and hoping for the best. You know, which is like the Funko Pop method of things. And they can do it through mass quantity, and not so much for Hasbro. So this kind of follows a similar track though. So if we go back to look at like the Rancor's performance, and yeah, the Rancor also did not perform well. We talked about that when that failed and tried to figure out why that happened. And then the Ghost Rider car happened. And oh, that's my Google search for it. There we go. By the way, I have to find like old screen caps of these because Hasbro has scuttled the pages for the HasLabs that have failed back behind the curtain to never be seen again. You can't go check out like the Cookie Monster replica. It ain't there anymore. But here you have like, yeah, this one only made half the backers it needed to make. The Rancor made, a little over half the backers it needed to make. And all this kind of has some similar things in common. The criticism with both the Rancor and the Engine of Vengeance was the price point. $350 for a standard Marvel Legends figure, which would have been a $25 purchase at the time, and a car with some simple LED effects and some flame accessories. This at retail package would run you like $100, maybe $125 at the most. Under no circumstances should this have been a $350 piece, and we to this day have no idea how they could have possibly justified the price. And the Rancor kind of ended up the same way. People, I don't have the final price here on this screenshot, unfortunately, but people heavily criticized the Rancor because it was very overpriced for the product you got. And it starts to make me wonder how much of this is like Disney wanting so much of a chunk of these pieces that it becomes completely impractical and technically impossible for them to actually exist. So if we look at like an in-house one, currently almost all of the HasLabs have been licensed in some way. They've been Marvel, Ghostbusters, Tron, Star Wars. So ones that are in-house, you can see $299.99. I know a lot of people who complained about that price. However, these are all Voyager class toys, and you are getting 7 for that price. Keep in mind, Hasbro was absolutely confident that Death Cobra was going to get in there. Yes, it's a full figure as a stretch goal, but there's no way he wasn't going to make the cut. There's no way it wasn't going to make that goal. They banked on that for the pricing. I guarantee you they did. And that takes the price of this set to about $42 a figure. Guess how much Voyager class toys are going to cost next year? And because of the heavy engineering, all of these toys are Voyager class. And then you're looking at the weapon accessories they include, the display stand they include, the fact that all of their Breast Force members are included. This is a packed set. And frankly, I think the price for everything that you are getting out of this is 100% fair. It's a lot to buy at once, but again, it's a lot. There is a lot here that you are going to be purchasing. So in that regard, this is absolutely fair. I think this is absolutely what you should get for that price. And it really just makes me wonder if a lot of these failures from HasLab all come from just the Disney influence and interference. Unless something is just wildly successful and wildly high demand, you can't overcome that price tag, you know? And also, this is a modern one. This was announced after all of the tariff stuff came down, so that probably plays a part in it as well. It's very likely prior to that we would have seen this set go for closer to like $200, and that would have been a lot more sensible and logical. But no, is what it is. I'm genuinely thinking at this point that when it comes to the HasLabs, really like Disney's part of the problem. I really think it's Disney being a part of the problem, just wanting too big of a cut at this point for their properties. Do I have a thing for like how much the Rancor actually was going to cost? Yeah, the Rancor was also going to be $350. That's way too much for just a big action figure. I know it scales to the Black Series toys. Great. But no, that's just way, way too much. So yeah, I'm really starting to feel like Disney's the problem here. We need more. So like the G.I. Joe stuff always succeeds. The Transformer stuff always succeeds. And I think those prices are absolutely fair. Actually, how quickly can I look this up? Okay, so there's a Snowcat, just for example. Literally the first one that came up on Google. Let's see, yeah, that ended in August. Yeah, target was 8,000, 16,000 backers. And they wanted $325 for it. So that is a lot. It is an exceptionally big vehicle. And this is, again, let's see, is this, yeah, it's classified scale. So this is scaled for a 6-inch figure. So this thing is gigantic. And is definitely got a lot more going on than the Engine of Vengeance did. So this does not surprise me. And yeah, and it actually had like all the tiers. So you got a whole bunch extra with this too, including, hey, a full Lady J too. Yeah, yeah, so like I feel like just Disney is just the problem here. I feel like Disney's the problem because like when they do their own big expensive one like this, like they load it down. They make sure you get your money's worth. You'll notice one thing that a lot of these didn't, had in common. A lot of these failed ones, there were that's a lack of like stretch goals for like incentive to keep people pitching in and to get more for your money. They didn't do that they did that with the Rancor. They threw in a Luke Skywalker. That didn't work. They didn't have anything for the Engine of Vengeance either. Yeah, I really feel like this is just Disney just not wanting to cough up. I think this is Disney just trying to take too much of a chunk themselves. But what do you expect? It's Tron, like we've seen, like I showed. It's a franchise that has just never been successful, and I'm not entirely sure why Disney keeps giving it a shot. These days, we know too much about computers. It's way too much of a common knowledge thing at this point to go like, "Ooh, there's a mystery world inside the electronics." Yeah. We're not working with that anymore. But that said, it's another strike on the HasLab. We are still waiting to see what the next Transformer one is, but I genuinely think we need that Lyle Kaiser in hand before any of this gets announced. After the fiasco with Omega Prime, we need to know that the ones they're putting out right now have been really, really good. Ah, well. My apologies to the Tron fans out there, but fortunately, there's not many of you. But oh well. We see the missteps here. And we'll hope that Hasbro learns from it. So with that said, that's just me speaking my piece. I just felt like talking about HasLab for a bit, because we haven't done it in a while, and this one's slightly relevant. So, let me know if you were looking forward to this, or tell me what you thought the problem was. What was your issue outside of just like the price is exorbitant? Because there's reasons for the prices. But let me know, and as always, I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.